Good afternoon. Welcome to the graduation reception for the 275th Basic Training Class. Class 275, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Right face. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 275, center face. 275, you may be seated. On behalf of the KLATC administration, instructional, and support staff, we would like to congratulate all of you on completing your training at KLATC. During your time at KLATC, you have walked past the Wall of Honor numerous times. The Wall of Honor reminds us of the ultimate sacrifice paid by each of the KLATC graduates memorialized. At this time, we would like to take a moment of silence to honor the 27 KLATC graduates that have given the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you. It is a KLATC tradition for the class president to deliver a few brief remarks on behalf of the graduating class. Ladies and gentlemen, the 275th Basic Training Class President, Eli Miller of the Pottawatomie County Sheriff's Office.
Good afternoon. Executive Director Darren Beck, United States Senator Jerry Moran, Class Coordinator Michael Terrain, and guest speakers. My name is Eli Miller from the Pottawatomie County Sheriff's Office and the Class President of the 275th. Welcome to our ceremony celebrating the graduation of the 275th Basic Training Class here at the Kansas Law Enforcement Training Center. Today we are gathered in person and online by our fellow classmates, dedicated instructors, police chiefs, county sheriffs, current law enforcement, as well as our supportive family and friends. Firearm instructors, just as a reminder, if you were to drop anything during this speech, do not bend over and pick it up. Raise your hand and one of us will come by and pick it up for you. Who would have thought 14 weeks would have flown by as quick as it did? It almost feels like yesterday that we were still sitting in classroom 1, introducing ourselves to complete strangers that would eventually become family over our time here. Our class became special, which is not possible without special people. I would like to take the time to introduce some of them to the rest of you. To me, Ken Griffin is no longer that old guy from Pittsburgh State University, but the loving father that chooses to continue to serve his community after 27 years in the military. To me, Patrick Brazil is no longer just a deputy from Bourbon County, but the foster father that has hosted more than 30 children in need of a loving home over a 6-year period. Our family has been assembled with people from across the nation, including Florida, Virginia, Wisconsin, Texas, and Louisiana. We thank those that have made the trek to our great state of Kansas to be a part of our special class. Whether it was intended or not, we would not be the same without you. Following today, we will travel into some unknown. However, the territory that comes with being a law enforcement officer includes some certainties. As an officer, you will have the opportunity to stand as a beacon of safety, as well as create lifetime relationships within your community through your actions, words, and honorable stature. One guarantee I have for you deputies is that there will be plenty of VIN inspections. Even though our futures here are unforeseen, I have not a doubt in my mind that the training absorbed these past 14 weeks will help guide us along the honest path during our young and early careers. Other than the yearly 40 hours of continuing education required to keep our certification, the progression we make from here will be fueled by the goals we set for ourselves. We've only gotten our feet wet. The career opportunities are vast, and you all find your passion. I ask that you chase your desires in your professional development and evolve into the officer you set yourself out to be. We are the future of law enforcement, and I see a very bright future for all of you. We must never become complacent in our way of life. Our communities are striving to move forward, and we must change with it. When you took the position you're in, you made a promise to the people you serve to treat all equally, fairly, and justly in everything you do. The oath we take every morning reminds us of just that. When asked what part of the oath meant the most to me, I thought of holding each other accountable for our actions. A standard is expected of us, and it will not be maintained without all of us working together. If we are to lead, we must do so by example. I ask that you never forget that every night or morning you choose to wear the uniform, you will not only be representing yourself, but your city, county, and state, but most specifically the 275th. To the instructors here at KLATC, I believe I speak for my class and the communities we will return to in saying we thank you for your continued commitment to the growth of the profession you learn to love. You've taught us the basics as well as share with us your life experiences. To us, this is priceless. You've taken the time to critique us, which at the time may have been frustrating, but your intent was never mistaken. You truly want us to succeed. As a class, we exchanged our differences. Tensions became high, but we came back together because that's what families do. All it took was Instructor Becker spraying us in the face with OC. Just like the course we were challenged with, we may encounter situations in this career that require the assistance of our teammates to get through, whether it be physical, mental, or emotional. Whatever your obstacles may be, when you feel alone, I want you to know we will be with you. Whenever you face tragedy, I want you to know we will be with you. And when you are scared, I want you to know we will be with you, standing side by side, shoulder to shoulder, across our great state of Kansas. There is one thing you remember from this farewell, let it be this: life is precious. That is why we chose to protect it. To the 275th, in your line of duty, be smart, swift, but most importantly, be safe. Thank you.
Deputy Miller, on behalf of the KLATC administration and staff, we would like to present you with this plaque as an appreciation for you being the class president. Hopefully you will proudly display this back at your office. You can retrieve it from the desk or from the table when the reception concludes. It is a tradition for each graduating class to create and manage a legacy project. Beyond the legacy project, there were multiple service projects completed by individuals within the class, including collecting plastic bags for the local Lions Club to recycle for new park bench, collecting donation for a local children's hospital, and cleaning up trash along the streets around campus to improve the community around us. Deputy Miller will now talk about the legacy project on behalf of the class.
For our legacy project, we had the opportunity to partner up with the 274th. As a class, we wanted to choose something that would directly impact the students here at KLATC. For our legacy project, we decided to help make a donation towards rifle racks at the range. That being said, I'm more than honored to present our donation to KLATC.
On behalf of KLATC and the students who will benefit from this, thank you very much for the 275th for your donation. At KLATC, we like to recognize the student officers who have excelled in the academic, physical, and skill areas over the 14-week basic training curriculum. Fitness is a key part of a peace officer's life. Fitness helps them deal with daily stress, aids them in maintaining a healthier lifestyle, and enables them to better migrate dangers when they may encounter them. The members of the 275th during their time here at KLATC were active and engaged. Would Jared Rosenstock of the Garden City Police Department please join me at the podium? To be recognized for completing the 200-mile club, a student officer must complete at least 30 push-ups in a minute, 30 sit-ups in a minute, and run the 1.5 miles in 18 minutes or less in their final assessment. Additionally, they will have to log 200 miles outside of their classroom activities. Officer Rosenstock achieved all of these requirements to become part of the 200-mile club. Please join me in recognizing his achievement. Would Frederick Mata of the Haskell County Sheriff's Office please join me at the podium? This award is for the top shot. The award recognizes a student officer of the 275th Basic Training Class for their firearms proficiency. Please join me in recognizing his achievement. At this time, I would ask Executive Director Beck to join me on stage to present a special award.
So you just heard Instructor Tureen talk about the different traditions that we have at KLETC to recognize excellence, whether that's excellence in fitness or excellence in the classroom or excellence on the firearms range. We know that we like to reward things like that. We like to reward things that are good, and that motivates people. But what happens when you have somebody that does something good? What happens when you have something that happens that deserves recognition, but we don't have an award for it? Well, you create one. And so that's what we did. We had something that happened during this class that was so unusual that we felt like it needed to be recognized here at graduation. We know that we're in an era where YouTube catches law enforcement officers sometimes at their worst moments. And that's what people see. It's unfortunate that YouTube doesn't catch people or doesn't catch law enforcement at their best moments, because I think that they would be amazed at what they would see in those videos. I wish this particular event had been caught on video, because I think it would have better portrayed to the country what law enforcement is really all about. Law enforcement officers are different than the rest of the population. I came to realize that about 25 years ago, that law enforcement officers are different. And I don't know whether they're different by character or by training or by both. Maybe it's those people that are of this character that are most drawn to law enforcement. But when most people hear a dangerous situation, when most people face a fiery car or gunshots or something like that, they run the other direction. Law enforcement runs to that place, and that's what I'm talking about. I don't know if that comes from training or from character. I like to let me try that again. I like to believe that it's both. Okay, let me get on with the award. I'd like to have Officer Logan Grant join me at the podium. Logan and his partner were on their way home from training, or on your way back from training, or to training. They were on their way back to training, and they witnessed one of those fiery crashes on the highway. They then pulled over, and they risked their own lives to go to a car that's on fire on the highway and pull the passengers out of the car. I believe you broke your thumb in the process? Finger. He broke his finger in the process, and of course they both received significant burns to their body. For that reason, we would like today to give the KLETC Certificate of Commendation to you. And let me read what it says. It says that the Kansas Law Enforcement Training Center issues the Certificate of Commendation to Officer Logan Grant, awarded for exceptional heroic action in the performance of your duties on January 18th, 2021. You risked your life in an attempt to save victims of a fiery two-vehicle head-on crash while enrolled as a basic training student at KLETC. Your actions bring credit to your department, to KLETC, and to the profession. And it's signed by me on March 21st in my capacity as both KLETC Director and the Director of Police Training for the state of Kansas. So I'd like to award this to you. I'll put it here on the table and you can pick it up after graduation. Thank you, sir. Thank you. It is now also my honor. I get two honors today. One is to recognize heroic actions, and the other is to welcome to us a person who greatly supports law enforcement in Kansas and nationwide, Senator Jerry Moran. Jerry Moran has been serving Kansas in the United States Senate since 2011. Throughout his tenure in the Senate, he has been a leading advocate for protecting and preserving the special way of life in Kansas. He previously served 7 terms in the House of Representatives. As the lead Republican on the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee on Commerce, Justice, Science, and Related Agencies, Senator Moran has jurisdiction and oversight authority over the Department of Justice, which allows him to lead the funding decisions that impact men and women working at agencies maintained by the DOJ, including the FBI, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the Bureau of Prisons, and the U.S. Marshals. This committee also determines federal resources for state and local law enforcement, and Senator Moran continues to advocate on their behalf for the resources that Kansas law enforcement needs to keep officers and communities safe across the state. Senator Moran has also very recently sponsored a bill, the Protect and Serve bill in the federal legislature, and I'm hopeful that he'll explain a little bit about that today. Before his election to public office, Jerry Moran attended Fort Hays State University and later the University of Kansas, where he completed a degree in economics. After an early career as a banker, he received his law degree from the University of Kansas School of Law. Jerry and his wife, Rabo, live in Manhattan and have 2 daughters, Kelsey and Alex. It's my pleasure to introduce Senator Moran.
Director, thank you very much for the introduction. It's an honor to be here at this occasion in which we recognize the graduation of new law enforcement officers in the state of Kansas, to hear their stories and to pay tribute to those who already have made significant contributions to the well-being of our fellow citizens. And I'm pleased to be back. I don't know that I've ever been invited back to a graduation speech. Given it once, the invitation seemed to disappear. And I checked when I came in the door what was suggested I talk about, and the management of the organization suggested something positive. I came on stage and asked the officers, should I give prepared remarks or written remarks? And the question was, which one's shorter? Regardless of the amount of time that my remarks take, which I hope is brief, I want you to know that it's an honor to be with you, to recognize you, to pay tribute to the careers that you are and are going to continue to pursue for the well-being of your community and our state and nation. It is important to hear what you have to say, and I was pleased, Deputy, to hear life is precious. I believe that, but I hadn't heard the next phrase that followed what you said, and that's why we choose to protect it. That sums up a motto that we all ought to utilize to live our lives. Our purpose on earth, I think, is many. And there are many things that are important in our lives, our family, our church, our school, our community, our kids, our grandkids. But if we recognize the value of everyone else's life, if we pay respect to each person, and then we choose to protect and respect that life, what a difference we will make in the well-being of our nation, and particularly the places that we all call home. In today's divided world, and it seems to me, and maybe it's just the aging process, it seems to me that things are more challenging for us to get along in today's world than it used to be. And I know that makes life of a law enforcement officer more complicated and probably more dangerous. But if each of us took from today's graduation the idea that life is precious, and therefore we ought to respect everyone's life, what a different world we would live in. It is pretty basic. Sometimes I think I get criticized for not being in someone's face. I know how to be on Fox News or make the television. How to make the nightly news is to throw a punch, to say something that's derogatory about someone else. And why from time to time that might be useful in my political life is not the way I was raised. The opportunity for us to demonstrate to one another that because God made us, we're all worthy of everyone's respect is something that all of us have to offer, but it's something that police officers, law enforcement officers can exhibit every day in their jobs. We need a basic respect among human beings. We need a basic respect among Republicans and Democrats, liberals and progressives and conservatives. We need the Methodists and the Catholics to have respect for each other and their beliefs. And so today, I come to commend you for choosing a career, for pursuing a career that will demonstrate your respect for other people. And in return, I hope and pray that people will pay you the respect that you deserve as a human being, but as a law enforcement officer, a sworn officer, someone who has been instructed and is committed to caring for others, to protect and to serve. And we've been through some difficult times, obviously, in the last couple of years, the pandemic of 2020 that lingers now into 2021, and it changed the way that we relate to one another. The nightly news that has demonstrated challenges between law enforcement and racial equality. And part of that one could take away from that, we heard from, I think, a very loud but very small minority, which was to attack the police, was to defund the police. The vast majority of us believe, no, that isn't the solution to our problem. The police aren't our problem. We're the problem. How we conduct ourselves, how we live our lives, what rules we agree to obey we agree to obey matters greatly. We need law and order. We need structure in our society. We have rules to accomplish that, but rules have to be enforced, the role of law enforcement. And so the vast majority of Americans, and certainly the vast majority of Kansans, I know Kansans better than I know everyone across the country, the response was, we need to support our law enforcement. What they are doing is important for us, our families, our communities, and our country. And while there were certain refrains early on about defund the police, I think that quickly turned into, we need to support the police. In fact, we had to provide more resources. We had to provide more tools so that they have the capabilities of performing their jobs in a way that's effective, provides safety for the people in the community, but safety for themselves as well. And I appreciate the suggestion that Jerry Moran is working in Washington, D.C. on your behalf. I hope to fulfill that statement by Director Beck. I have become the appropriations chairman, now the ranking Republican on the committee that funds the Department of Justice. And it's put me back in a place in which I have the opportunity to do more for law enforcement in Kansas and across the country. So we're responsible for the things that the director said, but in particular, we fund the FBI, the ATF, the DEA, the U.S. Marshals, the Bureau of Prisons. And I can tell you in this era in which there was a few months of defund the police, we actually have increased the funding for police, not the other direction. We've tried to do that again in a way that provides the tools necessary to protect yourselves and to fulfill your responsibilities, the oath that you've taken. To have the help that you need and the education and training that helps you perform your task as they should be performed. But also in that capacity, we have the opportunity to fund grants that come to police departments, law enforcement, highway patrol, sheriff's departments across Kansas, cops grants and bulletproof vests and cameras, and again, trying to make certain that we provide the necessary resources that law enforcement has the tools they need to perform the obligations that they've sworn to do. And we've had some success in that. And again, those dollars are increasing, not diminishing. And we've also, I hope it wouldn't surprise you, but we've made certain that the Department of Justice knows that Kansas is deserving just as other places. In fact, places that may have more population than we do. We also have many challenges because of the rural nature of our state that needs to be addressed as well. You know, law enforcement can't, regardless of the number of tools and the amount of money that we provide, can't solve all of our country's problems. We as citizens have a responsibility to conduct ourselves in a way. We need to make certain that we strengthen our schools and that we strengthen our churches, that we focus on things that bring us together. Sometimes it will sound odd. I think it would sound odd for me to sometimes say that I think that social media has caused us to find ways to argue with people rather than to find ways to agree with people. Sometimes I think that we spend way too much time on politics of the day and not enough time on the things that bring us together. So we can always find a reason to argue with people. We can find a reason to disagree. And it doesn't mean that we're not supposed to stand up for what we believe in. We have an obligation to make the case for what is right and what is wrong. But if we can go back to what the deputy said, life is precious, it's worthy of our respect, recognizing that other people's views are important as well, and can we find common ground for us to improve our nation? It's a dangerous business that you're in, and I regret that. I wish you Godspeed and safety in what you do, and I will do everything I can in my power to see that the tools and the protective devices and the training that you need to protect yourselves and others is available. We tragically lost 2 Kansas police officers in 2020 in the line of duty, Leavenworth County Sheriff's Corporal Daniel Abramovich and Overland Park Officer Mike Mosier. We lost 4 officers to COVID-19, those in the Department of Corrections, as well as Sheriff Alan Weber in Gove County, who I knew well. Again, life is full of risks, but people who are willing to take those risks and make a difference are the ones that we should honor and esteem, and we do that today. I'm grateful for those officers and their service, and I honor them for making that ultimate sacrifice. My hope and prayer is that in 2021, this new year, when in some ways we're starting afresh, that number will be 0. Changes in our life have made your jobs more challenging. Your conduct is, as it should be, held to a high standard as a public servant. Some will question your efforts and methods that you use to overcome the difficulties. But it is so important for us to stay true to the rule of law. It's so important for every citizen to know that the process, the rules, the Constitution matter. Many have sacrificed their life beyond law enforcement, and I would guess that many of you served our country in its military. I've chaired the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee. We do everything we can to make sure that the things that are worthy of being supported by the American people for those who served are given to those who served. It is an opportunity I have every once in a while. I put on my running shoes, and the officer from Garden City, I can't run as well as you did, but I will walk down to the Lincoln Memorial, and on my way down there, when things are frustrating, I'll put those shoes on and I'll take my walk. And I'll go by the Vietnam Wall, the World War II Memorial. I come back by the Korean War Memorial. And again, we're reminded that throughout history, there have been people, not because they were Republicans or Democrats, not because they came from Kansas or some other state, but because they were Americans. They decided to sacrifice for the well-being of not only their own country, but the world, just like you are making that decision to sacrifice for Kansas and your communities. Don't focus on all the noise that's going on in the world. Focus on the difference that you're making in a community that desperately needs your help. There's no higher calling in life than to protect someone that we know, except maybe to even protect somebody we don't know. It's amazing that people are willing to do that. And the 275th have demonstrated that's their commitment. Just a few days ago, I was with the director of the FBI. I'd asked him previously about what I should tell the class of graduates of the Law Enforcement Training Center. Director Ray said if he had any advice for new law enforcement officers and recent graduates, he'd say, I would tell them that they're undertaking not an ordinary job, but a calling. That is, it takes a very, very, very special kind of person who's willing to put his or her life on the line to protect complete strangers. And they should know that the whole country is grateful for their service. Director Ray is right. Your sense of morality, your understanding of right and wrong, your personal code of conduct, your attitude toward those around you, all those things will be tried and tested in your career as a law enforcement officer. You are undertaking something that is extraordinary. When we aim to meet the needs of our neighbors and our colleagues, our loved ones, we serve a higher purpose than the pursuit of money or fame. And while I hope that you have fame, and I hope you have fame, I hope you have money, it's probably not the most likely thing that occurs from a career in law enforcement. I pray that what you learned here at the Law Enforcement Training Center will be of great value to you, will help protect your lives, will help protect others, will make certain that you do your job to the best of your ability. May God bless you, and may He watch over you as you begin this new endeavor as a Kansas law enforcement officer. I was asked to say something positive. And I don't know whether there's a lot of positivity and all that, but I hope so. But I would say the positivity is that despite all the challenges that go on around our lives, all the things we see and hear that may disturb us, 275 times, young men, women have stepped forward, will take an oath, and will protect and serve Kansans and their community. There is nothing more positive than what you are exhibiting today and in the future. I leave here. When I return to Washington, D.C. on Sunday, I will go back and they'll ask me, well, what did you do this weekend? What did you hear? Who did you see? And I will say, I saw something that is very positive that gave me great hope about the future. That things, despite all the mess that we see, because we have too much television and too much social media, despite all those things that we see, I saw the core of goodness of people in a class called the 275th. Congratulations, best wishes. Please be safe. Oh, and you can pull me over and have a conversation with me sometime. Thank you for allowing me to join you. Honor to you.
Thank you, Senator Moran. As a token of our appreciation, please accept this plaque for being our guest speaker for the 275th Basic class.
Thank you very much. No plaque necessary, but thank you. The honor comes from being with all of you.
At KLATC, ethics are at the forefront of training. The Oath of Ethics affirmation is a consistent reminder of the importance of doing the right thing. The ultimate purpose of law enforcement is public service. When law enforcement officers take the oath of office, they assume great responsibilities. They have entered a position of being role models for where they must lead by example. They become enforcers of laws and protectors of society. Because the Kansas Law Enforcement Training Center believes the concepts and principles within the oath should be a dominating force in all officers' lives, I ask Class President Eli Miller to lead the class with the oath of affirmation to the Law Enforcement Code of Ethics. Deputy Miller, could you please step forward to lead the class in the oath of affirmation?
Raise your right arm. All my honor, I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or public trust. I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. I will always uphold the Constitution of the United States, state of Kansas, my community, and the agency I serve. Please be seated.
I congratulate all of you on your accomplishments and Godspeed to each one of you. Now, Deputy Miller will announce the names of the graduates of the 275th Basic Class.
Front row, please stand. Randa Andrews, Baxter Springs Police Department. Patrick Brazil, Bourbon County Sheriff's Office. Jared Brown, Junction City Police Department. Seth Brown, Baxter Springs Police Department. John Carpenter, Fort Scott Police Department. Andrew Cavalier, Garden City Police Department. James Chancellor, Goddard Police Department. Byron Korish, Independence Police Department. Front row, please return to your seats. Please be seated. Second row, please stand. Kaylin Esslinger, Anderson County Sheriff's Office. Kayla Foley, Garden City Police Department. Logan Grant, Galena Police Department. Ken Griffin, Pittsburgh State University Police Department. Rachel Hale, Burlington Police Department. Levi Hallman, Great Bend Police Department. David Hovis, Rooks County Sheriff's Office. Second row, please return to your seats. Please be seated. Third row, please stand. Austin Joyce, Chinook Police Department. Joseph Magistro, Jewell County Sheriff's Office. Frederick Mata, Haskell County Sheriff's Office. Jared Rosenstock, Garden City Police Department. Samantha Urias, Garden City Police Department. Sherry Vallon, Geary County Sheriff's Office. Jerry Zakowski, Ottawa County Sheriff's Office.
Eli Miller, Pottawatomie County Sheriff's Office. Third row, please return to your seats. Please be seated. Class 275, it's been my honor and my pleasure to be a small part of your journey. I wish you nothing but success and happiness. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending today's graduation reception. Associate Director of Basic Training, Alvin Sowers, will now deliver a few closing remarks and conclude today's ceremony by formally certifying the 275th basic class as law enforcement officers.
Class 275, first and foremost, congratulations and well done. If I could have you stand, please. On behalf of Executive Director Beck, I hereby formally certify that each of you have completed the requirements satisfactorily to be law enforcement officers for the state of Kansas. And now for the words that you've been waiting 14 weeks for, class dismissed.